Nein! Das wusste ich zum Beispiel nicht. Wenn wir eine Sache über die Sims 4 wissen, dann, dass wir nie alles wissen.
Ja.
Deswegen gucken wir uns heute das Video von Setch und Sims an. 5 Dinge, die Profi-Sims 4-Spieler tun, die sie nicht tun. Ich bin gespannt, welche der 5 Dinge du schon kanntest und welche nicht.
So, you've just entered a lot with your Sims. You've probably entered one of these lots in Willow Creek because they're the cheap starter homes. It's the first day of the game and you're wondering, what do I do? I've already got my Sim a job. I've always dealt with the horrendous welcome wagon and got rid of them because they're traumatizing. And you're like, what do I do now? Because it's the first day and I'm just like sitting around waiting for my Sim to start their job the next day. One really, really great way to make money that I see a lot of professional Sims do, but not a lot of new Simmers, is gardening. Gardening is like weirdly overpowered in The Sims 4 and I don't know why. To start gardening,
das frage ich mich auch, warum Gartenarbeit so viel Geld einbringt. Stellt euch mal vor, das würde im echten Leben gehen. Du läufst einfach rum, sammelst ein paar Brombeeren. In Deutschland, gut, Pilze haben wir auch eine Menge bei uns in Deutschland. Und würdest das einfach verkaufen können, so. Oder du malst ein Bild und egal wie scheußlich es aussieht, es kauft jemand. Das wäre wundervoll.
You could try and find some flowers and uproot them and stuff, but a much easier way is just to do it from the build buy menu. Under outdoors, outdoor activities, you'll find you get these seed packets called starter herbs, starter flowers, starter vegetables, etc.
Die sind auch echt nicht
Honestly,
teuer.
it doesn't really matter what one you use, but just make sure you get a few. I'm just going to choose some herbs and I'm just going to get a few of those. So opening all of these seed packets, as you can see, we've literally got tons of seeds. All you have to do, I know it's a bit annoying, but just place them all down. Oh my god, it's so annoying when you accidentally put it in the wrong place. Literally all of them in
Der Monk schreit.
an ugly line. It's fine. Oh my god, why do Sims in The Sims 4 always do press up?
Ja, das nervt mich auch. Dieses ständige Liegestütze. Stell dir mal vor, ihr lauft durch die Stadt und dann machen Leute ständig Liegestütze. Gar nicht strange. Bei mir ist diese Problematik aufgetreten, seit ich nachhaltig leben habe. Seitdem machen meine Sims nur verrückte Dinge. Also sie sind ja sowieso schon immer verrückt, aber seit dem Pack ist es ganz vorbei.
It's literally so annoying. And now, as you can see, Shanice is actually already autonomously planting these, which is great. I'll let her do...
Ich predikte, er hat die jetzt alle so schön nebeneinander gelegt, ne? Ich predikte, dass die hin und her switchen. Das nervt mich nämlich. Wenn du Dinge so in der Reihe platzierst und sie einpflanzt, dann ploppen die manchmal woanders hin. Das ist auch furchtbar.
And as she's doing that, I'm actually going to place even more herbs down in a line here too. Don't worry about being aesthetic and beautiful because honestly, it won't stay like this forever. We're only really doing this just so we can make some money and then afterwards we can always get rid of them. So don't worry. Oh my gosh, Shanice, you're doing an awful job at following my nice little grid patterns that I laid out. Chantal, do you want to do some help? That would be rather lovely. Thank you very much. And you know what? Whilst we're at it, I am going to choose a lot trait, which is great soil, which means gardening seems to go very well here. I'll go over lot traits a little bit later on, but this is very useful, so please make sure that you use his great soil lot trait if you have it. Also, if you have the tiny living stuff pack, change your home from residential to tiny home residential. If you do have a tiny home, you may need to temporarily make your house a little bit smaller, just to make sure it fits the tiny home requirements.
Okay, also ich soll auf ein Tiny House wechseln.
When I say it will...
Geht natürlich nur, wenn ihr das Pack Tiny Living habt. Auf jeden Fall, wenn ihr das Pack habt, dann könnt ihr ja diesen Punkt einstellen im Baumenü und dann wird euch auch angezeigt, ne, hier oben in der Mitte, wie viele Kästchen ihr habt.
Be worth it, and you need to use micro home.
Micro
In fact, you
house.
know what? I am just deleting the entire home and starting again. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Satch, this is extremely ugly. Yes, it is. The thing is, oh, look at that little bit of roof I left there. Whoopsie daisy. And I say I'm a professional Sims YouTuber. Let me just pretend that didn't happen. But you see,
Ihr seht, egal wie groß oder klein man ist ist immer schlecht in Sims.
here's the thing, starting off in The Sims is kind of like starting off in Minecraft. When you first start off in Minecraft, you build that big ugly house out of dirt as like your first ever house, but you gradually get better. And it's exactly the same if you want to make money in The Sims. Because when you have this small little lot and you have the tiny living stuff pack, your house is declared as a micro home, which means that you get many special lot traits, including let it grow.
Krass, das wusste ich gar nicht.
As fast as normal, which means you can make twice as much money basically. And in fact, to show you how overpowered this is, I'm actually going to set my money to 0 with cheats and just see how much money that we actually make through gardening alone. Oh, my Sims are sad. Why are they sad? Oh, I've given her a gloomy trait. Well, that's not very good, is it? A water with tears. Well, that's quite useful, actually. Anyway, the great thing about gardening is that there's interactions like water all. So it just makes it extremely easy just to do it autonomously. To be honest, if you have 2 Sims in a household, it can obviously speed it up, but it doesn't really matter that much.
Mich triggert halt, dass die beiden gleich aussehen, ne? Also nicht von den Haaren, aber vom Outfit her.
So now it's the next day. We're ready to harvest most of our crops already. Some of them are not ready yet, but most of them are. So we're going to right click and click sell.
Ist das jetzt schon nach einem Tag so? Schreibt mal bitte in die Kommentare, wie lange es sonst dauert, bis die Pflanzen fertig sind. Es dauert doch, oder?
$12+. And as you can see, from selling all of this stuff, after just one day, we've made 680 simoleons, and that's not even all of the plants, because some of them are not actually ready yet. And the best thing is, that's only with herbs. I deliberately chose to use herbs because they grow a lot faster than, for example, fruit and vegetables. But if you grow fruit and vegetables, they actually sell for a lot more. Also, the more you raise a gardening skill, the higher quality the plants. And the higher quality the plants, the more money you make. This is
das ist halt auch krass, ne? Je höher deine Fähigkeit ist, desto mehr Geld verdienst du. Und dann kannst du ja auch später so Mega-Verkäufe machen. Das heißt, sie muss dann gar nicht mehr von Pflanze zu Pflanze laufen, sondern sie macht einmal Kitsching, Kitsching.
Basically the ultimate cash cow. If you have the seasons pack installed, which I know a lot of you will because it is one of the most popular packs, search for Patchy in build by. This little scarecrow is not just a decoration. You have to chat with him a bit first, but the more you chat with him, he will eventually... Das Coole an Patchy ist halt, dass der ja irgendwann richtig rumläuft und ein richtiger Freund wird und du halt mit ihm auch eine Beziehung anfangen kannst, wenn du willst. Wobei meiner war immer nicht interessiert an irgendwelchen Beziehungen, außer Freundschaft. Become alive and he will basically do all of your gardening for you, which is incredibly useful. Gardening is the single-handed most overpowered way to make money, especially when you're first starting out. It's honestly so useful and I cannot recommend it enough. So number 2 is cooking in bulk. This is something that not a lot of people do. So normally when it comes to cooking, most people...
Dieses Einkochen, das haben wir ja, glaube ich, mit dem Landhausleben-Pack gekriegt. Damit habe ich mich noch nie beschäftigt, sage ich aber ehrlich, ne?
People will either click have breakfast or serve breakfast or lunch or dinner. What you actually need to do... Oh my god.
Ja, macht das schon wieder, diese Exercises. Oh, ich bin so froh, dass meine Sims... Also, dass andere Sims genauso sind.
Again, Shanice with the exercising. Yeah. Stop it! Instead, what you do is go into cook. And what you want to do is go into garden salad because it's one of the cheapest meals. And you want to do a party-sized serving of garden salad. The thing about The Sims 4 is your Sims will actually gradually gain weight over time after eating certain foods. And unless you, like, make them exercise, they will just gradually get bigger. And it can be quite annoying because it's not really that realistic. But when they eat garden salad, it's basically, like, 0 calories. So they will never actually gain weight from it and it's very...
Aber eigentlich schon ein bisschen gemein, ne? Wenn du jetzt das... Mein Hund möchte auf meinen Schoß. Komm her. Wenn du jetzt permanent nur Gartensalat zubereitest, ich stell dir vor, es würdest du im echten Leben machen, dann würdest du ja erstmal so einen Mangel an Nahrung und an Vitaminen haben. Das wäre schon sad.
Useful. So now this is made, obviously you can grab a serving. It's got 8 servings, so it should last you a couple of days. And then the rest of it just pop in the fridge. And then when your Sims are hungry again, all you do is just click get leftovers and they'll eat more. And it's incredibly useful. At number 3 we have...
Das stimmt. Muss ich auch sagen, es ist mega, mega sinnvoll. Also ich bin auch jemand, der immer Partygrößen kocht mit den Sims, wenn er kocht. Und dann esse ich einfach immer aus dem Kühlschrank. Und dadurch, dass es im Kühlschrank ist, ist es ja auch länger haltbar. Und dann, ja, können die ewig essen. Wenn ihr dann den Gartensalat macht, nehmen sie nicht zu. Und ist sehr praktisch.
Expensive things. When you're building a house in The Sims 4, I think it's very tempting to only go for the cheap looking things because you just assume that they're cheaper, but they're not. So this slightly scatty looking base game door here, this is worth 105 simoleons. But did you know this really nice door from the Seasons pack, which is a lot more beautiful, this is only 50 simoleons. So
da muss ich aber auch sagen, ich finde es ganz, ganz, ganz ätzend. Ich weiß nicht, ob sie es schon geändert haben, aber bei mir ist es so, dass die Preise nicht gestaffelt sind. Also, dass ganz oben die günstigsten Sachen anfangen und unten die teuersten, sondern manchmal sind die auch durcheinander. Also, ich wollte zum Beispiel dann mal die günstigste Tür, das günstigste Fenster kaufen und dann waren die aber völlig durcheinander, sodass du jedes einzeln dir angucken musstest und das ist halt nervig. Und hier ist halt das Problem, ja, wenn das also die Jahreszeitentür schöner ist, nicht jeder hat das Pack. Also ich kriege ja auch immer mehr Nachrichten von euch, kannst du bitte auch einfach nur mal Sachen machen, die mit dem Basisspiel zu tun haben, weil halt nicht jeder jedes Pack hat.
So it's literally half the price. This really tiny base game window, this is 30 simoleons. But the much bigger window from Parenthood pack is also 30 simoleons, the same price. This large modern looking window here from the base game is 235 simoleons. But the identical thing that comes from the Eco Lifestyle pack, this one is only 35, making it 200 simoleons cheaper. And it's not really that different. This ugly potted plant, the really tiny one, is 45 simoleons. But this really big one from Dream Home Decorator is 30 simoleons, making it a lot cheaper. This basic bitch chair from the base game, 150 simoleons. But this nice one from High School...
Muss ich ja auch ehrlich sagen, ne? Seit es Highschool-Jahre gibt, lade ich keine CC-Möbel mehr runter, so privat. Weil das einfach so alles beinhaltet an Möbeln, was mich glücklich macht.
Making it 20 simoleons cheaper. This one from City Living is 100 simoleons. This one from Eco Lifestyle is 70 simoleons. This laminate flooring is 8 simoleons per square tile. But this one here, which I think is much better, is only 4 simoleons per square tile. Weirdly, a lot of the base game stuff is really expensive, but a lot of the more luxurious looking stuff from future expansion packs is usually either the same price or cheaper. Even if it's only just a little bit cheaper, it looks better for basically the same or less.
Naja, das Traurige ist, es ist vielleicht günstiger im Spiel, aber wenn du die Packs in echt kaufst, ist es nicht wirklich günstiger. Außer du hast Glück und es wird mal wieder irgendwas umsonst rausgehauen.
Less money. So when you're first starting out, don't feel like you have to build the cheapest, crassiest looking thing. Just look through the menu. You almost definitely find something nice, I promise you. There are many different kinds of trades.
Ja, außer du hast halt dieses kleine Baumenü. Ich krieg ja immer noch die Krise, dass wir immer noch nicht angeboten kriegen von Sims, dass man das Menü oder das Baumenü ausklappen kann, dass man dafür einen Mod braucht.
In The Sims 4. The ones you know of are the 3 in this beehive.
Ja, ich hasse es. Warum können wir nicht mittlerweile mehr als 3 Merkmale haben? Als wenn wir Menschen nur aus 3 Merkmalen bestehen.
That you can choose at the start of the game. But there are actually some more traits, and the first really important trait that you must consider is your aspiration trait. Every aspiration category has a special passive bonus trait.
Mit dem Bonus-Trait, also mit diesem Bonusmerkmal, habe ich mich noch nie beschäftigt, was ja eigentlich total wichtig und sinnvoll ist.
The athletic one has a high metabolism, so it's easier to stay fit. The nature one, collectors can find rare collectibles more often. Obviously in The Sims 4, you can change your trait to literally anything at any time whenever you like. But this bonus trait that happens at the top here, this trait is stuck with you for life, and it depends on the initial aspiration that
bleibt ein Leben lang erhalten. Also selbst wenn ich den wechsle,
you choose. When you first start the game, it's really important to choose a bonus trait. Don't think about the aspiration itself because that can change as soon as you start the game. Choose an aspiration solely based on the bonus trait that you want. A really great one is the knowledge trait. Quick learners build all skills a little faster. This is really useful, so I recommend just choosing, honestly, any random thing. And then once we get into gameplay, we'll basically change it to the aspiration that you actually want, and you still retain this bonus trait, which is that you learn skills faster.
Nein! Das wusste ich zum Beispiel nicht. Das ist krass. Wobei du ja so normal deine Eigenschaften gar nicht ändern kannst. Also du musst ja einen gewissen Cheat, ich glaube Cars Full Edit Mode musst du eingeben, damit du alles im Cars verändern kannst. Aber es ist für den nächsten Sim, wenn ihr eine Challenge spielen wollt, echt genial, wenn ihr den Sim erstellt, dass ihr erstmal dieses Quick Learner, also dass er schneller lernt, einstellt als Bestreben. Dann startet ihr das Spiel und dann ändert ihr das Bestreben in das, was er eigentlich haben soll. Weil dann habt ihr echt diese Bonuseigenschaften noch oben drauf.
In terms of these personality traits, the 3 ones that you can use, these don't really have an impact in terms of your skill gain or anything like that. So for these ones, just choose ones that you think affect your Sim's personality in any way that you like, and don't worry too much about skill raising with these because it doesn't really do that. Now we're in live mode. You can see my Sim has a quick learner trait. My other Sim also selected the business aspiration trait, which means that she earns more money than a standard rate for careers, which is great. But what I can now do is change her aspiration to, let's say...
Natürlich! Du musst ja gar nicht im Cast das ändern. Du kannst ja auch einfach das Bestreben darüber ändern. Oh, ist das genial.
Family, she wants to be a super parent, which is cool. She still has this business
Das ist der Hammer.
savvy trait. So that's why it's really...
Wisst ihr was? Ich würde dann einfach jedes Bestreben einmal durchklicken. Dann hat sie nämlich jedes Bonusmerkmal in ihrem Ding.
And choose your first aspiration based on the trait you want, not on the aspiration you want, because they can always change. Another kind of trait, which is very, very undervalued, is lot traits. When you're in build mode, click on the little eye in the top corner, click on the question mark, and you can see it says traits and challenges. Under traits, depending on what packs you have, depends on what traits you have, but a lot of them are extremely useful. Let's say you want your sim to raise their skill level playing a musical instrument. You can select the Great Acoustics lot trait, and you can see my sim has an inspired moodlet because of the lot trait, and that means that she's gaining the skill faster, because inspired sims, as you can see, they have the cyan thing around their bar, which means they actually gain the skill a lot faster. Other really useful ones are the chef's kitchen trait, which means that you can actually raise your cooking skill faster. Home studio is great for doing things like painting, writing and crafting. Study spot is good for making your kids do their homework.
Also das kann ich euch heute auch nochmal empfehlen, was er da auch gerade macht. Wenn ihr da drauf seid, dann lest euch die Sachen mal durch. Weil da steht da noch oft zum Beispiel, hey, das unterstützt die und die Fähigkeit, das unterstützt das und das im Gameplay. Das heißt, ihr könnt auch wirklich euer Spiel dadurch auch ein bisschen einfacher oder auch schwerer machen.
Faster. Peace and quiet means that they gain skill level faster from reading. Romantic aura makes it easier to woohoo. There are literally tons depending on what pack you have, and I honestly recommend looking at all of these every single time that you start a new save file and open a new lot. Also, another one which I know a lot of you may be interested in is on the ley line. This trait makes it more likely that you have twins, which is very useful. Although lot challenges, which is the trophies here, you want to keep away from these because these make gameplay a lot harder, unless you like the challenge. Another kind of trait that goes very, very undervalued is a reward store trait. So you know when your sims complete these things here, they get little aspiration points. These aspiration points can be spent in the reward store. I've just cheated myself some aspiration points just so I can show you what you can do. Under all, we can select traits, and these give your sims new really, really cool traits. For example,
das ist natürlich auch cool, dass du das da oben einstellen kannst.
Frugal trait means that you have reduced bills. Incredibly useful. Steel bladder, your sims rarely need to use the toilet. Antiseptic, their hygiene need decays a lot slower. If you find that your sims' needs are generally falling quite fast and it's kind of annoying, these traits are honestly so useful. And if you have a lot of reward points, you can actually use ones, for example, forever full, so your sim never ever ever needs to eat. I personally would hate that trait because I love food and I love eating. But in terms of the sims, it can be a little bit of a ball ache, so these reward aspiration point traits are really, really useful to add to your roster of traits. So the last pro tip, which I probably should have put at the start, which is changing your game settings as soon as you start. A lot of new players, I think, forget to do this, but it is incredibly useful. When you start, just go into the menu and go into game options, immediately go down to gameplay. Now, depending on how much autonomy you want your sims to have, you can either change it to full or off, and you can also disable autonomy for the selected sim, which is...
Mache ich zum Beispiel, also den Bereich benutze ich oft, wenn ich irgendwelche Filmszenen, Posen oder sowas benutze, dass mein Sim dann nicht ständig irgendwas anderes macht. Dann ist es halt super praktisch, weil dann kannst du es ausstellen, dann sind die Sims quasi wie Roboter und du kannst mit denen alles machen, aber musst dann auch wieder dran denken, das wieder anzustellen, weil sonst stehen sie dagegen rum und verhungern.
Really useful if you want full control over your sim. Another one is auto age sims. I know a lot of people really hate it when their sims die or they grow old. You can actually set it to they auto age or not, but also you can also change it to only active households. So if you don't want the other sims around you aging that are not in your household, but you want your household to age, you can change that. I personally put auto aging to off straight away as soon as I play because I want control over like when they age up. Because one thing that I find in Sims 4 is that all sims start with like the same birthday, so they all die at the exact same time, which is really annoying. So if you turn auto-aging off, you have control over when they live and die, basically.
Das wäre schon funny, ne? Wenn einmal so die ganze Sims-Welt ausstirbt am gleichen Tag. Das wäre auf jeden Fall mal eine Challenge wert.
Which is a lot more useful. Also, if you do have it aging on, make sure you change sim lifespan to long if you want them to live longer. It's a very small thing, but an important thing. Another thing you want to turn off is enable neighborhood stories. Neighborhood stories is basically something that revolves around this idea of story progression. For example, a random sim in your neighborhood may just randomly adopt a child or adopt a pet. These things sound like a good idea on paper, but unfortunately in practice it can be a bit glitchy and weird, so I recommend turning this straight off. I've had situations before where random townies will just die, but their toddler will remain alive, and it's just like this one toddler living alone in a house.
Das ist
like,
die Sims-Logik, ja? Also Townies sterben, ein Kleinkind bleibt alleine im Haus. Das ist voll Sims-Logik.
You have a house that's literally just owned by a dog and there's no other Sims.
Nur ein Hund gehört.
So please just turn this off. I recommend it anyway. Another thing is environment. If you have the seasons pack, I personally recommend changing your season length to make it longer if you're in a season that you like. If I'm in summer, I always like summer in The Sims, so I always make it really, really long. Also, one thing I recommend turning off is enable temperature effects on Sims. So if it's too hot or too cold, your Sims will complain a lot and they get annoyed, whereas you can just turn it off and it's just a lot easier to play. Another thing is pack settings. I always like to opt my Sims out for fame because some...
Also da müsst ihr euch wirklich unbedingt mal durchklicken, weil da habe ich zum Beispiel hier nachhaltig Leben ausgestellt. Die Sachen, weil mein Spiel sonst noch viel, viel schlimmer verbuggt ist. Und seit ich diese Votings bei nachhaltig Leben ausgestellt habe, lebe ich wieder.
Also, if you have eco lifestyle, honestly, mate, just turn off enable NPC voting. You thank me for it later. A lot of frustration.
Ja, du dankst mir, genau, weil dann hast du plötzlich diese komischen Abstimmungen, wo alle irgendwie nur noch mit Papiertüten rumlaufen oder dies und jenes. Es ist furchtbar.
Things about certain pack gameplay can often just be turned off in this menu, so I honestly recommend just looking at it. I didn't want to overwhelm you guys with like tons of really pro tips because I just wanted to focus on some really crucial ones that will help to make your gameplay a lot easier. If you do want to see more intricate tips, of course, let me know down below and I'll do another video on it. Also, if you're not sure which packs to get, I have a video here which will help you, so make sure you check.
So. Sehr, sehr, sehr gut. Vielen, vielen Dank. Also ich habe ihn schon sehr lange abonniert. Deswegen, ne, wie immer, Däumchen nach oben, abonnieren, reinschauen. Er hat wirklich tolle Tipps. Ich finde, man kann ihn sehr, sehr gut verstehen. Er hat ein sehr schönes Englisch. Und ja, schreibt doch mal in die Kommentare, welchen Tipp ihr noch nicht kanntet oder welchen Geheimtipp ihr noch so habt. Ansonsten, möchtet ihr noch mehr Geheimtipps wissen, dann schaut doch mal da vorbei oder hier. Dann empfiehlt YouTube dir ein Video. Fühl dich umärmelt. Deine Rorania. Ciao.